is inappropriate. I didn't say what sort of uniform it was. You could have been wearing anything. Oh, good evening. Yes, Lord Stan here, and welcome back to part B of episode 7 of the BNSF Birdwood Sub HO. Now, due to the content of this particular episode being so riveting, we've had to have an interval, and I'm sure you've all had a cup of tea like I've had, and maybe a lie down, and maybe gone to the lavatory or something. So, let's continue on now with the riveting joining of two pieces of nickel-silver railroad line, and hopefully we can keep our excitement contained to some sort of less than physical level for this particular event. So, thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.
Now, trendsetters, the secret to soldering is cleanliness. That's the first thing. So, rail's clean. This is new rail, so it's pretty clean. Also, you need some flux. Now, this is a paste flux, and it's got a little on a cotton tip there. You don't need much, just a little bit there on the outer side of the rail. Now, the flux cleans the rail, obviously, and makes the solder run. I did try a non-acid flux, which you don't really have to clean off, but it was pretty slow, and you just need to keep putting more heat on the rail, which I don't like to do because you end up melting the sleepers. Now, one thing that not many people tell you to do, if your solder's, been around for a while, always clean your solder. There's no point... Where is the friggin' thing? This is quite fine solder, but now look at that. Where are we? See that dirt there? That's coming off the solder. Now that's going to go into your job. Where is it? Everything's back to front here. There it is. So there's no point in putting flux on and making sure everything's clean when you're putting dirty solder on. So just give your solder a bit of a wipe, just to get most of the dirt off the outside. If you've got clean solder and it's brand new, well, you don't have to worry about it. And also you need a nice little iron. This is a Goot iron, temperature controlled. Get one that's temperature controlled. And this is 46 watts, so that's probably about, I wouldn't go much more than that. Okay, so put a bit of solder onto the iron. And you'll see once it heats up, you'll see the solder just flow into the fish plate there. Like that. I'll just put a little bit more on there. Job done. Now, I don't solder the inside. Some people do. It's up to you whether you want to or not. You can actually see the solder come through and look down on the inside and see the solder under the fish plate. So that's good enough for me. You can see it just run there. That's good. Just left a little bit on the top there. So I can see the solder on the inside in here looking down. So there's no point really putting any on the inside because it's already down. You don't really want it up the sides. It's already down underneath the fish plate. And if I look on the other one on the inside rail, I can see it there. And that's it. But remember, clean job. Cleanliness is the most important thing when soldering. Now, as soon as you finish the job, just get a bit of isopropyl alcohol or metho or something and clean the flux away. Now, probably should use a toothbrush. I'm going to go back after and use a toothbrush on these and really scrub it out because the flux can corrode the rail. Now, it's not going to corrode until there's nothing left, but it does look pretty nasty. So just give it a good clean there. Now, it's probably weird starting off track laying with soldering, but this is where I decided to start. So you're going to have to do it sooner or later. And you can see we haven't melted any of the rail clips there. You see that one right? See if we can get up here. One on the right hand side there's a rail clip, or should I say tie, spike, right next to the solder joint. It's not even melted, so that shows you've got the right size iron there. So now what we'll do is lay this track down. Now we've just done our solder joint. Now this is only a short length of rail here because the piece of rail that we joined onto is actually another 3 lengths long that's come off my temporary layout, so I'm not cutting that up, I'm using that, it's already sort of pre-done, sort of like a 9-foot long set track. So that's where it is at the other end, where it has to be, so I have to cut this, we have to cut this bit of rail here. So what we need is some rail cutters. Now when I was a young fella building my first layout, they didn't have these rail cutters. We had to use a little junior hacksaw or a hacksaw, or even worse, side cutters, and then you'd spend half an hour filing the track profile back because you'd bend the end of it and all that sort of thing. So these are fantastic. I've got 2 sets. There's a straight set, a horizontal set, which are the first ones I bought. These horizontal ones where you cut the track like that. But I went to a train show a year or so ago and I bought these. Same company, they're Exuron or whatever they are, which are vertical rail cutters. And I like them because you can put them down on the track like that, exactly where you have to cut it. And it's much easier, I think. But you know, whichever one you like the best. Now, you've got to remember with these track cutters, one side cuts nice and smooth, the other side wrecks the rail, so make sure that you have them the right way. So our good side of the rail is this way, so I make sure we have our flush side of the cutters on our good side of the rail. The rail going this way is our waste, so we have our other side of the cutters on the waste side. So let's have a look, see where we've got to go here. Now also the actual cutting blades are offset, they're not vertical. So make sure that you have the cutting blades vertical and not the handles. Otherwise you'll be doing a lot of filing. Done one. Now I'm just lining it up with the rail from this turnout here. Where are we? Something about there. Now I'm putting an insulated fish plate in on this rail here because of the turnout. So I've made the gap here a little bit wider than the one on this side. Right, now we've cut that, we just have to trim, do a bit of a file. Where are we? Now even though the cutters do a very good job, they still leave a little bit of a burr, so before you trim the ties off here, I keep saying rail clips because I deal with concrete sleepers most days, so before you cut these rail spikes off, the heads of the spikes, to fit your fish plates under, give it a bit of a file first because these clips here will help hold the rail and stop it from moving. So just a bit of a file there. Not too crazy. And then important to go underneath and just tilt the file up a little bit so you get a little bit of a edge on it there and get it like a little bit of a ramp for the fish plate to go in, and then one from the top on the foot of the rail. As I kick the camera. And then just run your finger up underneath your fingernail, underneath like that, just to make sure you've got no ridges on there. That's good. Okay, so now we can cut these ties off to allow our fish plates to slide in. Now we've got our insulated fish plate, which is going on this rail here. You need an insulated fish plate on both of these rails, because remember, with the electrofrog points, the polarity of these two rails is going to be changing whichever which way your switch rail goes. So you need an insulated fish plate on both of these. I'm using these Tillig insulated fish plates. Where are we? Everything's backwards on this goddamn thing. Hey, I like them. They actually come with the turnouts, and they're brown, so they're not clear like the other ones. And they're quite small, but they're very strong. And yeah, I like them. Now when you're putting these insulated fish plates on, make sure you hold the track and hold the sleepers up against the rail. Otherwise, if you push them, you might actually push the sleepers off the rail and undo those bloody clips again, which is very annoying. As again with code 83, you've got to be a little bit more careful. Okay, that's him on there. Okay, here we go. On up that one. Now these Tillig insulated fish plates are quite tight. So I'll just get a little pair of pliers here. You can pull the rail rather than the track. Is the go. If you try and push the track, all you'll end up doing is pushing the sleepers up and breaking more track pins off, which you don't want to do. So once that's gone on there now, so I'll just pull that up with the pliers, just gently. Don't do that. Actually, it is the wrong set of pliers. I'm using the wrong set of pliers for doing this. Now, what I'm doing, I'm leaving a gap. There's a gap here for the insulated fish plate, but I'm also leaving a gap on this side. Because it's winter here now, trendsetters, and this being a tin shed, in summer, just push that fish plate back there a little bit, this rail is going to expand, and that's one thing I've noticed with code 83. Not only does it look like the prototype, it bloody well acts like the prototype. I've had buckled rail in my house even. So I'm putting in quite a lot of expansion joints in here and leaving gaps everywhere I can. And hopefully, come summer, we won't have spaghetti everywhere. Right, okay, so we've got that joined up. Now, transition curves, trendsetters. Oh, scary. If there's one thing that's going to make your track work look good on your layout, it's a transition curve. Now, all that basically means is you don't want your track to look like set track, where it comes up on the straight and then goes into the curve like that. The transition curve just means that the track transitions into the curve, also called easements. Now, there's the wonderful book, Track Planning for Realistic Operation, that I had when I was a young fella, that I don't know where it is now. Told me all about transition curves and how to measure them and draw them up and all that sort of thing. But the beauty of flex track is it really, if you just let it be the boss to a certain degree, it will give you a transition curve. So, well, it will help you get one anyway. So this is what you don't want. Let's just say, now you can see that straight there like that. We don't want that. Okay? What we want is to ease in. You see how the track just springs back into a nice little transition there? So the easiest way to do it is, let's say our straight finishes, well, according to my ply work, my woodwork, the straight finishes about here. And the curve starts here and goes around. So what you do is go back about 3 or 4 inches and just, instead of pinning the track straight, just let it go by itself. Now I'm sort of pushed a bit for room here because this turnout takes quite a lot of room. And remember I said you need a straight between your S-bends as long as your longest piece of rolling stock. and this turnout is about a bit longer actually than my longest piece of rolling stock. So we nearly need to get into the curve straight off the turnout, which isn't a good idea anyway. But we got probably 2 or 3 inches to muck around with, which I wouldn't be bragging about. But anyway, that's another story. So what we do is we get a little bit of straight coming off the turnout. I'm just going to get my head in the way here, trendsetters, to have a look. Yeah, we've probably got maybe 2 inches to here, 50 mil of straight. And instead of making the track go straight a little bit further, up to here where it should be, and then start the curve, just let it go. Just let it curve around there by itself. And you'll find that you'll get a nice transition almost by itself. Now let's have a look at that. I tell you what, that's pretty good. That's another thing I like about Pico Flex Track. It's very nice for doing transitions. Now also you can see, and you'll be able to also realise when we're going around the layout, that I'm not following the baseboard very accurately anyway, because the baseboards haven't been cut out with a transition. So, and I've seen people draw lines on their bench work and all that sort of thing. Also, if you're going from a plan and you've printed it all out or whatever, you're not going to have transition curves. So sometimes it's best just to let it flow, baby. By all means, put lines in where the curves have to be, but when you're starting a curve and finishing a curve, if you want your layout to look good, transition curves. And it's just a matter of getting the hang of it. You'll see whether it looks good or not. Just remember, you don't want the set track look. That's probably the easiest thing to do. And also, just wriggle the track like that. If you're using this foam underlay or something similar, just wriggle the track in there so it actually seats into the sleepers. Right, that's looking good. Now this track is staying, because this is actually 3 lengths of track soldered together, it's hold the track down too when you're pinning it. Now I'm not driving them all the way down yet, I'm just putting them in just below the head of the rail so I can run cars around, and then I'll go back later on and drive them down just till they touch the sleeper. Actually, not even till they touch the sleeper. I let the sleeper spring a little bit, just a fraction. Now, that's feeling and looking good. Nice. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to go around and finish this curve now up to the other end. I've probably got another 4 more lengths of track, so I'd like to get that done today. So I think that'll do us for now. We'll be back in the next episode, and we might do a turnout on the next one. Yeah, let's do that. Not quite a double stack trendsetters, but it'll do for now. Now one thing, it's been a couple of weeks since I shot the first half of that video, and we've had a few issues with temperature up here since then, so let's go and have a look at some of the things I've had to do. It's becoming quite prototypical laying this track. Let's go and have a look. Now trendsetters, there's our little SD40-2 idles in the background. You may be wondering, why have I left this huge gap in the rail here? Well, I didn't originally. I was always going to put expansion gaps in, but I didn't think I'd have to as much as I have had to do. Winter here in Brisbane at the moment, which isn't really cold if you're anywhere where it's snowing, but it still gets down to, it can get down to 5 degrees. We've had a couple of 1 degree, this is Celsius I'm talking about, 1 degree mornings just west of Brisbane. And it gets to, I've had temperatures of 4 or 5 degrees here. And of course this is a tin shed. Now the walls are insulated and the ceiling will be, the roof will be insulated this summer. But we still see temperature fluctuations around here from anywhere from, let's say, 5 degrees up to say 35 or 40. So even though the shed's insulated, it's not air conditioned and it's not underground like a lot of you lucky people that build layouts in basements, which would be ideal. But here we sort of have to deal with almost outdoor conditions really. Even insulated, this room will probably go from, let's say, 7 or 10 degrees up to about 30, probably in the best conditions. So that's still a 20 degree difference. Now, this track here, trendsetters, it was closed up the other day, and I've had to do, well, I've had to relay nearly every curve on this layout, which fortunately I haven't done that many, but it's still probably 20 metres of curves I've had to relay. And basically because of the buckling. We've had rail buckles already and this is in winter, so I'm just a bit concerned about summer. So what I'm doing, I'm going around and I'm putting a spike in. That's actually closed up a little bit from what it should be. Let's see if we can get this one in here. There we go. So I put a spike in everywhere, every join that isn't soldered. Now this is a curve, it's got 3 solder joints in it. Every curve, every time we come out of a curve, anywhere where there's a fish plate that isn't soldered, I put a spike in like that, and then I lay the rail, so at least I know I get at least a millimetre of gap. Now I know it looks a bit ridiculous there like that, but come summer, we're going to be in trouble, I think, if we don't do this. And even though we're a long way off summer, it got to about 24 the other day, and I came down and nearly all of these joints were closed up. So I'm sort of doing a bit of a test at the moment, and I reckon this rail expands about 1 millimetre, just even in about, say, 7 or 8 degrees. So you have, say, 4 or 5 lengths of track to get, that's 5 mil, that's a 1/4 of an inch you have to get rid of somewhere. And unfortunately, unlike the real railroads, I can't stretch it, which is what they do in real life with welded rail. The rail is stretched, and depending on the ambient temperature, the rail is stretched to a certain length, and then when it expands, that takes the stretch out, and hopefully you don't stretch it too far. And if you do stretch it too far, then the rail cracks and breaks, which we have to go to rail breakages all the time because it buggers our track circuit. So, just thought I'd mention that. Yeah, so look, there we go, I can fit that spike in there. If you can see that there. And there's another curve up around here, it's got a joint in there. So this is 3 lengths or 4 lengths of track up to the top of the ridge up here. I've all got that gap in between. So something to think about. And of course when you glue the track down with all your ballast and everything, it's got nowhere to go, but it has to go somewhere. So yeah, I've been busy relaying all my track, all the curves anyway. Now I just thought I'd chuck that in. And you didn't see this train running on this layout. There's not supposed to be a train running on here yet. So just pretend you dreamt it. Well, trendsetters, hope you enjoyed that episode. As you can see, there's a bloody lot more track to lay, and a few more tips that hopefully I can share with you all. This is a, speaking of laying track, this is a rail temperature sensor. We're out west of Brisbane now, and it gets pretty hot out here at the back of Ipswich, probably up to 40, 45 degrees C. And this is a remote sensor that is supposed to simulate the rail, the main line, which is a few metres back that way. And this heats up roughly the same as the rail, and if it gets to a certain temperature, that alerts crews and maybe us to come out and have a look to see if there's any buckles, because we do get quite a bit of buckles out here in the summer. And in the winter we get rail breakages when it shrinks. That's one of the anomalies of welded rail, I suppose. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. Hooroo!